wondrous love is this, oh my soul, oh my soul.
Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting during the Renaissance era was The Last Supper. Leonardo was born in Vinci, Italy in 1452, and while he has a collection of beautiful works, perhaps one of his most famous paintings is The Last Supper. In 1494, when Leonardo was 42 years old, he was hired by the Duke of Milan to decorate the dining room of the convent church, which was the favorite shrine of the Duke's young bride. For the dining room's theme, Da Vinci chose appropriately The Last Supper. However, instead of doing a faithful reproduction of the original scene as it had taken place in first century Palestine, Da Vinci chose to reproduce the scene as if it had taken place in 5th century Italy, using what he considered the most dramatic moment of the Last Supper, when Jesus reveals to the apostles that one of them will betray him. In this living dramatization reset to modern times and language, we get a glimpse of what the apostles might have been thinking, feeling, and saying after Jesus spoke those ominous words, "One of you will betray me."
Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. We have found him. I laughed. Out of Nazareth? Nazareth is such a small and insignificant place. Nothing good has ever come out of Nazareth, let alone that be the place where God would reveal his chosen one. But Philip was persistent. He told me, "You must come with him. You will see." So I went with him. I went to meet Jesus. Jesus met me with open arms. And he told me, "I have been waiting for you. You are a man who could not tell a lie to save his soul." I thought I was always an honest man, but Jesus, he knows all about me. Every detail of my life from birth. He told me, "I saw you as a small child under the fig trees." Well, you see, my mother would leave me under the fig trees when she went to work in the fields. He knew every detail of my life. I knew Jesus was the real deal. I said to him, "You truly are the Son of God. This man is the King of Israel." I have been with him ever since. And yet, now, in this special supper, Jesus tells us, "I am going away. One of you will betray me." How can this be? We are his closest friends. We have been with him for years. I wonder, who will be the traitor? And yet Jesus knows all. In the back of my mind, I wonder, am I going to be the one to betray him? Am I that person? Is it I?
My name is Matthew, but some people call me Levi, or that darn tax collector. You know, like Zacchaeus. You may even know me by a totally different name
because I changed my name and my life when I became friends with Jesus. It was a typical boring day at work, collecting taxes, when Jesus bursts in, exclaims, "Follow me," and then runs back out. It was just so different than my everyday normal routine that I just had to follow him. He was so interesting, I even invited him and his disciples to a dinner party that I was having that night with some of my coworkers and business partners. I was embarrassed and actually horrified when the Pharisees showed up and started criticizing Jesus for eating with sinners like me. But Jesus stood up for me, and he said to them, "Those who are healthy do not need a doctor, but those who are sick do." I was impressed, and I knew that this was the kind of life that I wanted to lead, the kind of person that I wanted to be. So I did my research, studied scriptures closely, and listened to Jesus' sermons. And eventually I repented and followed him. I know now that he is the Messiah, God's anointed, the one that the prophets talked about. And I plan on writing a paper to prove it, using our sacred writings and taking notes from his sermon on the mountain in Galilee 3 years ago. I was so excited, ready to bring a new gospel and good news for everyone, to the world, when Jesus throws this bad news at us, that one of us will betray him. I feel like my past has come back to haunt me. Will the others suspect me because I used to be a tax collector? Even worse, do I even trust myself? Am I the one? Is it I?
My name is James. It's a pretty common name, though. So sometimes I'm known as James the Little or James the Lesser because I'm a little smaller than the other James. Not because I'm any lesser than anybody here. My dad's name is Alphaeus, so sometimes people call me James, the son of Alphaeus. I remember the first time that I saw Jesus. I was walking down the road by where John was baptizing, and I saw a huge crowd gathered. I was curious to see what was going on, so I went down to have a closer look. This man, Jesus, was asking John to baptize him, and John was refusing, but Jesus insisted. When John finally gave in and finished baptizing him, I swear I saw the sky open up and the Holy Spirit descending upon Jesus in the form of a dove. The whole crowd heard a voice from heaven saying, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased." At the end of Jesus' first year of public ministry, of course, he chose me to be one of his 12 apostles. And we've been best friends ever since, walking and talking together, praying together, and me working to learn everything I can about him and his heavenly Father. But now, Jesus is saying that one of us will betray him. No way! We all know him. It would have to be a stranger, somebody crazy and outside of our group. But Jesus is so sure. And I have to ask myself,
ordinary fishermen, mending our nets when Jesus found us down by the Sea of Galilee. I always knew we were meant for more than that. And sure enough, Jesus asked us to be his disciples. And did I mention one of his 12 hand-picked apostles? Yes. Well, as you can imagine, our mother Salome was very proud of us. And she just wanted us to get the recognition that we deserved. So one day, last week, on our way to Jerusalem, we asked him, "Teacher, allow us to sit at your left and right hand as you come into your kingdom." And he said, "You don't know what you're talking about. Are you to drink the cup that I am to drink? Or to be baptized with the baptism with which I am baptized?" Honestly, I didn't know what to say. Except we just answered, "Of course." And he looked at us sadly, and he said, "Even though you were to follow in my footsteps, I do not have the power to grant you these honors in heaven." And these other apostles, when they found out what we had asked, they were angry. But Jesus soothed their hurt feelings by telling them that those that would be first must first be a servant to all. And then he did something amazing. He illustrated this concept of service by washing our feet before supper. Him! Can you imagine washing our filthy feet? And now, I am confused because despite the promises and the speeches, tonight, he's told us that one of us here will betray him. Who could it be? And why? Why would any of us want to do such a thing? But I have to wonder, is it I? Am I the one?
I'm Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. Everyone calls me Andrew the Bringer because, well, that's what I do best, bring others to Jesus. I'm not exactly talented, just an ordinary guy like any one of you or any one of us. But I've done my best to serve Jesus with the talents I do. You see, I brought my brother Peter to Jesus, and it's been so amazing to watch him be transformed by Jesus. You remember the crowd of 5,000, right? I'm the one that found the young boy with the original 5 loaves and 2 fish. And just the other day, some Greeks came looking for Jesus, and they called me in to help them see the light. It's not much, really. But I guess Jesus saw something in me that no one else did, because he picked me. He picked me to be one of his 12 apostles, and we've been so close ever since. I'm not exactly in the inner circle like Peter, but I've been a good friend and companion to my Lord. And truly, what greater gift could be given to a mere fisherman like me, a relationship with Jesus? And now one of us is to betray him? Who could do such a thing? How could someone do something like that and live with themselves? I could never do anything like that. Could I? Is it even possible? Is it I, Lord? Is it me?
is Judas from Judea. I'm the only Judean in the group. Everyone else is from Galilee, but I'm from the small village of Carol from Judea. I'm the only one. Never thought of that. Well, despite my humble beginnings, the rest of the apostles must have trusted me, for they elected me their treasurer. And Jesus? Well, Jesus believed in me, for he made me one of his 12 apostles. You know, there's been talk of me using money for myself, and that Jesus' talks of the love of money and greed were directed at me. But of course I got upset when Mary used the expensive perfume to wash his feet. That's a total waste of money. And if I made the deal with the chief priests, and there was 30 pieces of silver in it for me, well, that's my business. I mean, come on. I believe in Jesus. I do. But he has to do something to prove he's God's Messiah. And he refuses to make a move. Well, now I've made one. But now he's hinting that he knows. Even mentioning it a few moments ago when he washed my feet. Jeez. I'm not as bad as you think I am. Nor are any of you as good as you think you are. What makes you think you're better than me? What would you have done in my shoes? I mean, it's obvious to everyone that he needed a little push. And I've gotten the ball rolling. But now, how do I play this? I mean, do I pretend that I didn't hear what he said a few moments ago? Or act like these self-righteous others saying, "Is it I? Am I the one?"
To God and to the Lamb I will sing. To God and to the Lamb I will sing.
Hello, my name is Philip, and I'm from Bethsaida in Galilee. I first came to met Jesus when my friends and I were gathered to listening to John the Baptist speak. And Jesus came and asked us to be his disciples and follow him. And of course we did, no questions asked. It was so cool to be there with Jesus when he fed the 5,000 with just 5 loaves and 2 fish. At first, I was a little worried. I was asking Jesus and the others how we were going to feed everyone when Andrew came along with the young boy and his lunch. Andrew's really good with that stuff. In the beginning, I had a hard time understanding what Jesus was saying. He said things like, "God is our heavenly Father." That was way beyond what I understood. But now, after listening to Jesus for a long time, I think I understand what he's saying. For it seems like anyone who has ever met Jesus has met the Father. And there's nothing I see in Jesus I wouldn't want to see in the Father. There's absolutely nothing about Jesus I wouldn't want in the Father. But if all of that's true, how can there be a traitor in our group, like Jesus says? For doesn't anyone know that by betraying Jesus, they're betraying God? Could anyone be that blind? Could I? Am I the one? Is it I?
My name is Thaddeus, one of the disciples whom Jesus called to be an apostle. am so honored. That was an amazing day. Another time, after a night of praying, Jesus called each one of us to him and gave us all authority over demons and the power to heal all kinds of diseases and illnesses. He told us to go out and preach that the kingdom of heaven is here, but he warned us that we would have to be as wise as snakes and as innocent as doves, for he knew that he was sending us out like sheep amongst a pack of wolves. He said, and I quote, "It is enough for a disciple to be like his teacher, and a servant like his master." That reminds me of a time when we were in Jerusalem, and Jesus called to everyone, saying, "Come, follow me, all you who are tired and stressed, and I will give you rest." But tonight is different. Jesus, who came into this world to make our lives easier, is being forced to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders, knowing that one of us, one of his chosen, will betray him. Who would do such a thing? Which one of us could it be? Maybe the one we least suspect. Maybe all of us will betray him before the night's over. Philip, Peter, Judas, or John, or even me. How could that be? Am I the one? Is it I?
I am Thomas the Twin. Some people call me Didymus, which means, go figure, twin. While I'm not totally a glass half empty kind of guy, I usually do require evidence before I believe something, just so I can see proof before jumping on the bandwagon, so to speak. I am not a total stickler, though. Sometimes I'm really brave and spontaneous. Like the time when Mary and Martha sent word to Jesus that their brother Lazarus was dead. Jesus wanted to go see him, but all of our friends were afraid to go to Bethany because Jesus was so unpopular there. They were afraid to go, but he was determined. And I backed him and said, let's go with him, even if it means we die with him. It drives me nuts that people don't remember times like that. They always talk about the times when I was a little more doubtful and cautious, and they like to bring up the times when I asked a few more questions rather than just going with the flow. And they forget how truly faithful and courageous I have been. While I may have been a fisherman with them at one point, I remember when Jesus shared the Beatitudes with us on the horns of Patmos during his first year of public ministry. I can literally hear him chewing out the stormy winds on Galilee, in the sick, curing the diseased, opening the eyes of the blind, making the deaf hear, cleansing the lepers, and preaching the gospel to the poor. It's just, there are so many enemies of Jesus now, even determined to destroy him. He's trying to make us servants of God, and they are trying to make God serve them. And even now, within our group of 12 chosen apostles, there's a traitor. With enemies all around us, I'm beginning to doubt even myself. Am I the one? Is it I?
When from death I'm free, I feel more, I am more. And when from death I'm free, I feel more. And when from death I'm free.
After Jesus called Peter and Andrew to follow him, he came to me. John, my brother James, as he
Zebedee. Once he came to us, we left everything we knew, right down to the boat and our dad, and we followed him. It's been both the easiest and the hardest thing I've ever done. Seeing him perform miracles and preach, I believe he is God as much as anyone will ever be. Yet, seeing him as a friend, sharing his hours of struggle and his hours of victory. And I love him as a person too, and he has loved me in return, even calling me the beloved disciple at times. I was there on the Mount of Transfiguration, sharing his glory, and he put Peter and I in charge of the celebration arrangements here tonight because he trusts us and he considers us his closest friends. He even shared with me his talk with Nicodemus when he spoke these wonderful words. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not die, but have everlasting life. Now someday I want to write a book of all of his sayings and teachings so that everyone can learn the words of him and follow him in his ways. Yet he just said that one of us was a betrayer. I almost can't believe it. I don't want to believe it. But who could it be? Not my brother James or Peter or Andrew. Just as likely to be John, the beloved disciple. But that's not possible, is it? Could it be me, Lord? Is it I?
Hey there, I'm Simon, Simon the Zealot, or some call me Simon Zealotos. That's because before Jesus called me, I used to run with a bad crowd, and they were called the Zealots. We were a bunch of angry, trigger-happy revolutionaries, all armed and ready for rebellion against Rome. We were to crush our enemies and bring back paradise, or at least what we thought Israel used to be back when David and Solomon were in charge, not the Romans. So you can imagine my surprise when Jesus told us about a different paradise, a kingdom within the human heart, where only God is in control. I was blown away. I dropped the zealots like the bad habit they are, and I pledged my allegiance to Jesus instead. He taught me that the battle for the human heart is the only one of any lasting value. And in turn, I've given him all my loyalty and devotion. Militarily speaking, you could say I've surrendered to him totally, unconditionally. I raised that white flag, and I vowed to think as he thinks, and love as he loves, and obey as he obeys, and serve as he serves, and even to love those that he loves. You know, some of my old friends, they think I've given up, that I've lost all of my freedom and my free will. But I tell you, for the first time in my life, I feel free. I'm not afraid of Rome anymore. Rome may be mighty, but God is almighty. But now, the Master says within our group is a traitor, a deserter, a spiritual Roman, someone who would try to take by force but can only be won with love. Who can it be? Matthew, the tax collector, the former servant of Rome? Or would the others suspect me? I'm the only one with a history of violence. Could it be me? Is it me? Am I the one?
and he told us he would make us fishers of men. And immediately, we dropped everything and followed him. Another time we were out fishing all night long, and I was frustrated. We didn't catch anything. And he came to us in the morning, and he goes, "Put your boats out a little further and let your nets out." And I told him, "We've already done that." But as you say, as you command, Lord, I will do. So we put our boats out. We let down our nets, and there were so many fish that we couldn't get them to shore ourselves. We had to call other boats over to help us bring the fish in. Once we got to shore, I jumped out of the boat. I ran to his feet, and I said, "Get away from me, I am a sinner." And he looks at me calmly and says, "Again, I'm going to make you a fisher of men." And he changed my name to mean the rock. And he said, "With this rock I will build my church." Then later, in Caesarea Philippi, I got to confess, I got to say to him, "You are the Christ, the Son of God." I'll never forget his next words. He said, "Get behind me, Satan. It seems that I'm a mix of good and evil, of right and wrong. One minute I'll do something right and good, the next minute I'm at his feet again begging for forgiveness." And then tonight, he said that one of us would betray him. And I immediately said, "No, Lord, it's not going to be me. No." Again, he looks at me calmly. And he says, "Before the sun rises, you will betray me 3 times. Is that possible?"